The Rangers have a lot to do this offseason, but what priority comes first? Talk about that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If not, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about what are the most important Rangers offseason priorities. How do we rank those priorities, and what is a non-negotiable and what is a I kind of like that to get done this off season. Before we get into all that, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Now, the Rangers have a lot to do this offseason. It is going to be a busy winter for them. They have to rearrange the entirety of their, well, not the entirety, but a vast majority of their bullpen. There will need to be some help in the rotation. There will need to be something addressed with this offense, although it kind of seems like the players that they got are going to be the players that they get and are stuck with next year because of different contract situations. And there's a couple other things that I kind of want to hammer out this offseason. I want Chris Young to hammer out. I'm not hammering out any of these things, but Chris Young and the rest of this front office staff, they've got some things to be doing this offseason. But I think the number one priority for the Rangers this offseason is bringing back Tyler Mahle. Now, this is twofold. Now, a big reason for this is because, well, Tyler Mahle was incredible last season. I guess it's threefold. One, Tyler Mahle was incredible last season. That's the main thing, because Tyler Mahle was freaking awesome last year. 16 starts, a 2.18 ERA. The innings were a little limited. The strikeouts, not great. The walks, okay. But he did not give up runs at all. Barely at all season long. This guy was incredible, but again, he only made 16 starts, dealing with a nagging shoulder injury that took him out on June 10th and did not allow him to come back until basically the very end of this season, where he was still fantastic in the final 3 starts of this season. But to start this year, Tyler Mahle was just untouchable, or at least unscoronable. Scoronable. There's a better way to say that, but I don't have it off the tip of my tongue. But this guy was incredible at limiting runs last year. And I think part of those numbers are a little inflated by the Rangers defense and how incredibly good it was last year. I bet it's going to still be incredibly good in 2026 as well. So I think that run prevention is still going to be elite from Tyler Mahle. I also think it's because, Tyler Mahle was hurt, and so that means he's probably not going to get as big a contract as if he had put up a 2.18 ERA over 32 starts. That would be a much bigger per year and many more year-long contract than what he is going to get. I am fascinated to see what Tyler Mahle is going to be offered this offseason, because on a per-inning basis, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball. But again, the value of starting pitchers a lot of times comes in their durability, in their ability to make every start every 5th day, 28 to 32 starts. That's the target goal, 160 to 180 innings, because that's what's considered a full workload now, because I don't think there was anybody this year that went to 220 innings or anything, remotely close to that, because that's just kind of not where baseball is right now. So because he was so good, and because he was hurt, and because the contract isn't going to be as astronomical as it might be had he been healthy all season long. The Rangers spent a pretty penny on him for the last couple of years, and I don't know if they got their full value off of him. He was coming back from Tommy John surgery. The Rangers signed him to a 2-year deal, averaging $11 million per year, very much backloaded to 2025 as opposed to 2024, because they knew he'd be rehabbing for basically all of 2024. And he made 3 starts, and then a shoulder injury at the end of last year ended his, returned to the big leagues a little bit prematurely. He was great for the first half this year. And the third reason why the Rangers need to make bringing back Tyler Mahle their top priority is because they need help in the rotation. Now, the guys who they've got on the roster to come into camp next year are all pretty darn good. I mean, Nathan Eovaldi, incredible. Jacob deGrom, pretty darn incredible. Jack Leiter, really darn good third pitcher, if that's your third pitcher. Then you've got Jacob Latz behind them. And then your fifth spot right now would be arguably, it feels like inarguably at this point, it would be Kumar Rocker if the Rangers don't make any other moves. But behind that, there's not a whole lot of extra depth. I mean, there really isn't. I mean, maybe we'll see Jose Corniel make some starts this year. Maybe we'll see Winston Santos make some starts this year. Would have been really nice to have Mitch Bratt possibly kicking the door on being a number 5 starter in the big leagues this year. They're not going to have Cody Bradford this year because he is going to be still recovering from UCL surgery in 2026 after missing all of 2025. A real bummer there. But outside of that, there's really not a whole lot of depth. I mean, even the Jose Corniel, I mean, he made one appearance in the big leagues. I don't know that he's ready to be a member of this rotation come opening day. I'm not sure he's quite there. He might be, he might have to be, but I'm not sure he is right now. And with Rocker, that is a real wild card at this point. I mean, the Rocker ceiling is still incredibly high, but ceiling and future and potential and maybe, those aren't now. Those aren't the immediate future. The Rangers need to compete in 2026. They will be competing and they need to. So adding up all of those three things of having a good pitcher who had success here, who will be on a maybe more friendly contract than some of the other more elite pitchers. And you could really, it would be a gamble for sure, because who knows if Tyler Mahle is going to make 28, 30 starts next year. But that might be asking a bit much. Maybe he goes 130 to 150 innings. But if the per inning stats are anything near what they were this year, that is going to be an incredibly good deal for the Rangers. And plus, Tyler Mahle had success here. And so you would think, I think all the tea leaves are pointing towards Tyler Mahle being very open to and encouraged by a return to the Rangers, because they were the team that took a gamble on him after that 2023 season where he was shipped off to the Twins the midpoint of 2022 and then was kind of mediocre and hurt at the end of 2022, then made 4 or 5 starts with the Twins in 2023 and then had Tommy John surgery, and the prospects that the Twins ended up giving up to Cincinnati in that deal looked pretty darn bad. And the Rangers said, hey, we'll take a chance on you. We will bring you in on this 2-year deal, averaging $11 million. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rangers try to say, hey, why don't we run that back? Why don't we do that again? Because I don't know that he's getting 2 years, $22 million total, average annual value of $11 million. I'm not sure that Mahle is getting that. Maybe he gets a 1-year prove it deal. Maybe that makes a little bit more sense than has a great year and signs another longer term contract, because I mean, next year is going to be his age 31 season. He's only going to have so many more, swings at a big free agent contract. And coming off of this year, this might be his best chance to sign a deal. He might need a prove it deal to kind of bridge him to 2020, the winter of next year. But we'll see. We'll see what that exactly looks like. But these are the reasons why I think Tyler Mahle, bringing him back, is the most important thing for the Rangers this offseason. More important than bringing back Merrill Kelly. I talked about that on a show a couple weeks ago about internal free agents of which of the Rangers starting pitchers I thought they should bring back. I thought Mahle was at the top of that list. Maybe you throw in Patrick Corbin for a little bit of added depth and security of knowing you'll have at least a guy out there who is major league capable. Maybe he has a little bit better second half in 2026 than he did in 2025 with the Rangers. But I really think that bringing back Tyler Mahle has got to be the most important thing for the Rangers this offseason. If they don't do it, it's not an entirely colossal failure as an organization, but I think it is just such a prime opportunity to get such a good pitcher at a reasonable rate at a position of need. It just makes too much sense for it not to be the most important thing this offseason. Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about this bullpen finally getting a closer, and could a reunion with an old Rangers closer be on the market? Talk about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score the next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, if you can combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when there are teams making a late push. Let's look at some of these different odds on FanDuel right now for the World Series winner. Series tied up at 1 game apiece. Right now, Dodgers favored at minus 240 after taking 1 of 2 in Toronto. Blue Jays plus 198. Let's see the awards races right now. Shohei Ohtani favored to win the World Series MVP at plus 180. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at plus 600. I'm a little surprised Dalton Varsho isn't higher up on there after having a grand slam in game 1. But right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when you make your first $5 bet win. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Shout out to every day picking Locked On Rangers, your first listen every single day. On tomorrow, I'll be back and talking a little bit about this minor league season. We're supposed to do that today. I'll have more time to delve into what happened in the minors this year for these Texas Rangers. Now, the number 2 priority for the Texas Rangers this offseason, it's a doozy, but it's got to be figuring out how to improve this offense. It is going to take some creative doing. It is probably the hardest task that the Rangers will be faced with this offseason, but they've got to figure out something, some way to improve this hitting staff. I know Skip Schumacher has some ideas about having a team identity. I think having just one primary hitting coach will be helpful, whether that's Brett Boone or Justin Veely. I think they're probably going to lean more towards Brett Boone, maybe just upending the entire system for how they have been teaching people how to hit at the big league level, because it worked so incredibly well in 2023 and just has not worked well at all these last couple of years. They need to do something drastic, and the personnel isn't really going to change. I mean, the Rangers don't have any starting hitters that are free agents after this year. Because I mean, they do have Kevin Pillar is a free agent, but he is retired. Rowdy Tellez will be a free agent. That I don't know what they're going to do exactly with that. But of the guys who are starting pretty much every single day, Jonah Heim, Jake Berger, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Josh Young, Wyatt Langford, Evan Carter, Adolis Garcia, Jock Peterson, Josh Smith, Kyle Higashioka. Those guys are still going to be here next year. And maybe that also involves fixing the hitting of those guys fixing themselves. I mean, Jock Peterson is coming off of the worst season of his career. He was hurt. He was bad and hurt. And then he was kind of okay for a little stretch towards the end. But it was overall a disastrous first season for Jock Peterson, which seems like the safest bet to fix this offense. After a bad 2024, it felt like such a safe bet. Same with Jake Berger. I mean, Berger had some incredibly hot runs, but for the most part, it was a tough year for Jake Berger as well. I mean, just looking all up and down this lineup, it was just a tough year for basically everybody not named Corey Seager or Wyatt Langford. And even at times, it was tough for Wyatt Langford. I mean, these guys just need to get more out of their offense because the personnel is the personnel. The only change that I think might be made is shipping off Jonah Heim, but he's not exactly an anchor of this lineup. He was very helpful in 2023 where he had an all-star season and he was, really good. But for the last 2 years, he has been one of the worst hitters in all of baseball. And I think the Rangers might make a move there. Adolis Garcia has been a good defender in right field, but offensively the last couple of years, it has been really tough sledding for him, and it might not be getting better. And while he's not an incredibly terrible overall player, he's not what the Rangers needed him to be these last couple of years, and I'm not sure he will be in 2026 either. But for the most part, this lineup is going to stay the same, and they need to figure out some way to fix this hitting. They just need to figure out how to be better, significantly better as a team, and just maybe everyone just start hitting like Corey Seager. That'd be nice, or just hit like the average version of yourselves that we have seen in seasons past. And this offense would be a top 5, top 10 offense in baseball. It has not been the case for the last couple of years. Hopefully, a healthier season from Evan Carter will help that. Another great season progressing from Wyatt Langford could possibly help that. Corey Seager being Corey Seager always helps. And maybe Jake Berger just being overall healthier and a more comfortable version of himself playing under the manager where he had his best season. Skip Schumacher might also help as well. But something needs to change with how this team hits and approaches hitting. And I don't know what it is, because if I did, I would probably be making a lot more money at not being just a podcaster. The number 3 priority for the Rangers this offseason, it's finding a dang closer. The closer was a huge problem for the Rangers this year, to the point where it changed my entire philosophy on how I viewed closers in the bullpen. That's how bad the closer situation was for the Rangers this year. In the past, I had been just extremely analytical guy of just, the 9th inning's no different than the 8th inning. It does not matter. You just get a guy who's been good in other innings and put him there, and he will be good. And then we saw what happened with Robert Garcia for long stretches as the Rangers closer. In non-save situations, Robert Garcia was incredible. In the save spot in the 9th inning, he had some horrible blow-ups. I mean, absolutely horrible blow-ups. I mean, the same thing could be said for basically everybody who, aside of Sean Armstrong. Armstrong was the only one who didn't really have multiple incredibly bad implosions. Maybe Sean Armstrong is the Rangers closer that they need to go after this offseason. I would be very in favor of bringing back Sean Armstrong. Obviously, depends on what the contract looks like, but bringing back him, bringing back Danny Coulomb, I would absolutely love. Phil Maton. I don't know if I would love him as the Rangers closer, but I think just getting a guy who is that dude, who has been a closer and has had success in a closer's role, is so darn important. I think it is different than any other inning. I have changed my mind after seeing what happened this season, because in the non-highest leverage innings this season, the Rangers had an unbelievably great bullpen. But in save situations, specifically in the 9th inning, this team was mostly poo-poo garbage in those spots. And it's a big reason why their expected win-loss record for this year was a 90-win team. It should have been a 90-win team. Instead, they were an 81-win team. That is a huge drop-off. And there are a lot of guys on the market this offseason that have closer experience. I mean, they really do. Edwin Diaz has an opt-out. I don't know if he's taking that, but that would be the guy probably at the top of the market at this point. Kenley Jansen, a guy who has just been racking up save after save after save. I thought the Angels were crazy when they paid him $10 million last year. And my God, do I wish the Rangers had paid him $10 million last year. Maybe instead of the $18 million they were paying to Jock Peterson, they paid those $8 million to someone else and brought in Kenley Jansen. And maybe this team is in the postseason. Maybe they're still there right now. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking about a World Series run for this Texas Rangers team as opposed to an 81-81 finish. I don't know. But there are some other great options as well on the free agent market. I'll do more of a deep dive into it a little bit later on this offseason. But guys like Ryan Helsley is definitely an option. I mean, Devin Williams was kind of up and down this year. Paul Sewald had been a closer previously. Maybe Kyle Finnegan is someone who the Rangers want to kick the tires on. I don't know what the deal is with Chris Martin. He was a great 8th inning guy. I don't know if he is going to come back to Major League Baseball next year. He is 39 years old. At this point, I think he is probably going to retire. But there are some other former Rangers who I think could be incredible buy low candidates that just keep them in mind. Kirby Yates, coming off of an awful season with the Dodgers. Could a reunion be there for him to come back to the Rangers and have a similar level of success that he had in 2024 when he was, I'd say, the second best closer in all of baseball behind a guy who will probably never be throwing a Major League Baseball again because of a big old betting scandal. But I think that could be an option, a return to Texas for Kirby Yates, or maybe even Jose Leclerc, coming off of a couple of seasons with the A's that have just really not gone well for him. I think it would be a very cheap contract of bringing him back. Robert Suarez, who's been a closer for the San Diego Padres, he's got an opt-out. I imagine that he probably takes that because he's been incredible. He would get a lot of money on the open market. And those are the main guys that I'm kind of looking at for a closer. But I want somebody with some closer experience. I really think that would be important. It's possible the Rays just say, yeah, $12.5 million for Pete Fairbanks. That's too much. And maybe the Rangers kick the tires all the way down there. But there are some options for the Rangers at closer. I think they definitely need a capital C closer, a dude who has got closer stuff, who has closed out games, who has saves, who knows what it takes. Because after this season, it makes me think, yeah, that closer role is actually different. And I have been wrong this entire time that it is no different than any other reliever role. Coming up, we're talking a little bit about the rest of this team. How are the Rangers going to prioritize building it? And one extension I think needs to get done this offseason. All that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by Gametime. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and price jumping at checkout. It's so frustrating. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, it's easy, and is backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is actually the price you pay. The app is so simple. You can see your seat view from the app. You can know exactly what it's going to look like once you get in there. It is such an easy way to get tickets. It is such a convenient and cheap way to get tickets. It is the best way I've ever found to get tickets for live events. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today. Now, the Rangers have, I think, two more things that I would like them to get done this offseason. One of them is, they got to build out the next thing. The number 4 priority this offseason is building out the depth in the rest of this bullpen and this rotation. The Rangers have a lot of guys who are free agents this offseason. They have 3 starting pitchers. I guess 4 if you want to count John Gray, although I don't know what's going to happen with John Gray. I don't think the Rangers are bringing him back. He missed most of this season with a fractured wrist and then had surgery on his shoulder this offseason. And for a guy who's been kind of not great for the last couple of years to have those 2 big old major injuries back to back, it's possible we see John Gray. We've seen the last of John Gray on a big league mound. I hope that's not the case for him and his sake, but if that's what he decides to do with his career, I would wish him all the best of luck for being a World Series champion. But the Rangers have Patrick Corbin, they have Tyler Mahle, they have Merrill Kelly leaving in free agency, or at least going to free agency. Hobie Milner is a free agent. Sean Armstrong, a free agent. Chris Martin, a free agent as well. They also have Phil Maton, who they traded for, who is a free agent, and Danny Coulomb as well. So basically, most of this pitching staff from the end of the season, they are free agents. The guys who are left are, at least in the bullpen, you got Robert Garcia, you got Jacob Webb, and that's mostly it. You got Cole Winn there as well, and I think he's going to play a big role in this pen. I don't think he's going to be the closer or the setup man, maybe not even the 7th inning guy, but he was excellent last year, and I think the Rangers are going to have him be a pretty decent part of their high leverage outs plan next year. I mean, we'll see how much we get of Mark Church next year. If the Rangers are just filling out based on who was there at the end of this year and don't make any moves in free agency, which would be insane. They've got Luis Carvello out there in the bullpen. I think he's going to be a part of this pen next year. In what capacity? TBD. But the Rangers need to build out the rest of this pen and some more depth in the rotation, like I was talking about. I mean, bringing back Tyler Mahle cannot be the only starting pitcher that the Rangers bring back. I want them to bring back somebody, or bring in somebody who has got some durability, somebody who you can count on for 25, 30 starts. Maybe not Patrick Corbin specifically, but someone kind of similar to that you can count on to be out there and bunch up some innings. Just keep keep your pen from having to throw a whole bunch of bullpen games, because that is the surefire way to just destroy the efficiency of your bullpen and wear guys out beyond repair by the All-Star break. We have seen it multiple times with this team of guys who have just been thrown way too hard and run into the ground. We saw it with Hoby Milner last year. I mean, the guy was incredible for the first half, and then down the stretch, he just could not get an out because the man was exhausted because he threw in 73 games last year. That is a lot of innings for even the rubber-armed lefty like Hoby Milner. So the Rangers need to figure out how to build the rest of this pen. I put this down there at 4 in the priority list because I'm not worried about it, because I trust Chris Young pretty implicitly in this kind of a task. He has done a great job of building bullpens for these last couple of years. I mean, he did a better job at the depth of the bullpen this past year. In 2024, he did a better job at building the back end best guys in the bullpen. Heck, if you combine the 7th through 8th or 6, 7 inning guys with the Robertson and Yates. And basically what I'm trying to say is you put Robertson and Yates in last year's pen, and this team is a 90, 95 win team because the depth guys were incredible last year for the Rangers in the non-high leverage spots, and Robertson and Yates were incredible in the high leverage spots, but the guys in the non-leverage spots in the Rangers bullpen in 2024 were terrible. And so you combine those two, if you can find the way to mishmash those two bullpens or those two bullpen archetypes into a bullpen for 2026, that would be an incredible bullpen. And it's an incredibly difficult task of just finding these guys who can be good relievers, especially when you're not just spending at the top of the market. Heck, even when you are spending at the top of the market, look what the Dodgers did last year. Tanner Scott was the top free agent reliever on the market. He was the best, bar none. Man signed a 4-year, I believe, $60 million deal. And now the Dodgers are in the World Series, and Tanner Scott is not even on the World Series roster. And then they brought in Kirby Yates, who's coming off a 112 ERA, 113, whatever it actually was, a sub 1.2 ERA with the Rangers on a 1-year deal. And he had an ERA north of 5 last year with the Dodgers. Not because he wasn't great with the Rangers, didn't have that potential, because relievers are weird. They are volatile. They are unpredictable. And the Dodgers, with all of their resources, all of their front office members, all of their analysts and their models and their pitching models and whatever they've got, that makes them such an incredibly smart, well-run team that, you get when you can, have that level of financial investment from ownership and continue to have that level of success at the big league level and have all those resources and money that you get flowing in because you won a World Series, and also because you have Shohei Ohtani on your team and you're just rolling in money from the Japanese market. But the Rangers figured out how to build a better, more sustainable pen than the Dodgers did this year. They didn't do everything else nearly as well as the Dodgers because they don't have a Shohei Ohtani, a Freddie Freeman, and a Mookie Betts at the top of their lineup, but that would be nice. But they found a way to do this. So I'm not as worried about it. It is a big task, and it's basically half of what the Rangers are going to have to do. I mean, basically all of their personnel moving this offseason and maneuvering this offseason is going to be on the pitching side because, like I said, the hitters are pretty much stuck in place. You got to go to the dance for the guys who brung you there. And well, the Rangers got brought to this dance in a beat up kind of a car, just a little jalopy. And we're talking about this offense heading into 2026. That is kind of where the Rangers are. But pitching staff wise, they have some options. They have some ability to maneuver. And I think Chris Young will take advantage of that. And I trust that he will do a good job with that because of the moves that he made, the guys that he brought in, of bringing in Tyler Mahle. That ended up being a pretty darn great signing. Patrick Corbin saved the Rangers bacon, and it was a last-minute emergency signing. That was pretty darn impressive that the Rangers were able to get that out of that guy. And this pitching staff, for the most part, was pretty darn good. But that closer spot is what we talked about. It's going to be a big, big priority for them this offseason. Now, the last thing, the number 5 thing, top priority for this Rangers offseason, it's getting an extension done with Wyatt Langford. This is a guy who is incredibly talented. The ceiling is astronomical with Wyatt Langford. Astronomical. It is in the stars. It is astronomy. It is in another dimension because the kid is so darn young. He doesn't turn 24 until November 15th. We are still more than 2 weeks away from him turning 24 years old. And he just put up a 5.5 win season despite missing 20 games, 18 games, excuse me. No, 28 games. He missed nearly a fifth of the season, and he had a 5.5 win season, following up a 4-win season the year before that. And the year before that, the man was hitting dingers in college and just breezed his way through the minor leagues to the point where the Rangers seriously considered making him make his big league debut in the World Series in 2023 to be an injury replacement to Adolis Garcia. That is how fast this kid's star has risen to the point where 5 years ago was 2020. This kid, I don't think he was even in college yet. He was still in high school at that point. Yes, he was still in high school 5 years ago. 4 years ago, he was not even starting for Florida. 3 years ago, he was the best sophomore probably in all of Major League or all of college baseball at that point. And then boom, here we are at his age 23 season, and he's putting up a 5.5 win season. The amount to which he has improved at the rate he has done it, how fast he's improved this much is insane, to the point where if the Rangers wait another year, I don't think they can get an extension done. I think Wyatt Langford is going to hit free agency. Now, it's entirely possible that he doesn't. And if you throw, it would take a big old bag. It would take a huge bag to sign Wyatt Langford to an extension. And you'd be taking off one of his pre-arbitration years because the man had a 5.5 win season this year. He made $800K. $800K to be a 5.5 win player. You know how much those players usually cost? About $25-30 million. That is how much of a savings the Rangers got. A win per dollar from Wyatt Langford. It's an incredible deal. And so to buy out some of those free agent years to keep him around for a long time, it is going to take a big money extension. And Wyatt Langford, if he was, feeling risky, like betting on himself, he probably wouldn't take almost any extension in front of him. But if you throw a big enough one in front of this guy who, to put it in perspective, of 4 years ago, this guy was barely starting at all at Florida. He had 4 games at Florida 4 years ago. And here he is being an incredibly talented player. And maybe you throw that much money in front of him and say, okay, that much guaranteed life-changing money, that makes sense to me to take that kind of a bag. Not that I think he's going to fall off or have some kind of, bad injury history, but like taking that level of security when you have come up so fast and taking that guaranteed money, I think happens sometimes for guys like an Ozzy Albies or guys like a Ronald Acuna Jr. who just want to stay here, want to stay with status quo, trust the team that they will build them into a contender, stay a contender, and hopefully he can get his shot at a regular World Series ring because he did not get one at the college level, maybe earning a World Series ring with the Texas Rangers at some point and getting him to stick around for a long time because this is a generational type talent. The kind of production he is putting up is incredible, and he is only going to get better. It is only going to get more expensive. I think this is the year if you want to get an extension done with Wyatt Langford, you don't want to lose him to free agency in 4 years. This is the time to do it. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.